if the world's not what you think it is?
Just chaos all the way down.
There's something out there.
And the world's been waiting for this.
In Outer Range, you are royal, a man tough as a nail, who lives and fights for his family and for his land. And it reminds me a bit True Grit, portrayed by Jeff Bridges, I think you remember, and not to mention No Country for Old Men. So what do you think is so fascinating about the cowboy world? Thank you.
I think it's the idea of simplicity around it. You know, we're very, you know, we don't seem to be, and I don't mean this as a negative, but we don't seem to be evolving as a species. You know, we seem to get more confused and more convoluted and more caught up in cosmetics. And, you know, this kind of harkens back to this very simple, straightforward, controlled time. I don't know if it ever was that, but at least it's our perception through, you know, the genre of Westerns that allow us to perceive that. Was there ever a time when it was just more simple? You know, I hear my father talk about when he was in high school and he was in a car club and he had a girlfriend, and just the way he describes it, there's a simplicity to it that I can see in his eyes when he's talking about it that he misses. You know, why is it so complex now? Why is it so, you know, and there's no judgment to that, but I think with Royal, as opposed to somebody like Llewellyn in No Country, you know, given True Grit and Jeff, he just drank a lot, so he dealt with it another way. But with No Country, like that to me is one of the most incredible human beings created, not just characters, but somebody who, you know, they go, why did he bring water to that guy that night? Like, why did he do that? Because that's who he is. He cares. He can't help but care. Why did he take the money? Because he wanted a better life for his wife, who's never known anything like that, anything beyond just being able to get the food on the table, just being able to keep a roof over your head. So that character to me had incredible integrity. Whereas I think Royal represents something a little more selfish and self-absorbed, which is kind of the trajectory of the whole story of him finally, which you haven't gotten to toward the end, when he breaks, and what that looks like when he breaks, what it looks like when a human being finally is confronted without any survival technique with themselves, and what happens. That's interesting to me. That's interesting on every level to me.
The mixing of reality and the unknown, and all these genres all together in just one series. Is this the secret of the success of this series?
Yeah, I think that's certainly what it's tapping into. And the unknown comes with benefits and, you know, great omens, but it's that sort of the greed that can come with curiosity, I think. The needing to know, and how sort of dangerous that impulse can be, and selfish. So I think it's the perennial question we all have, isn't it, all the time? So the fact that you might get close enough, there's someone, you know, especially in terms of death, like that whole idea that no one can ever tell you what death's like because they're already dead. But perhaps in this show, it could be different. That's cool.
Westworld and Yellowstone before, now Outer Range. Why is the modern Western genre so fashionable, in your opinion, on television?
In Europe, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's this similar to people who've grown up in America and they have that sort of Francophile or Anglophile sensibility. I think, you know, the way that America was presented to us all in Europe when England was still in Europe, that was very seductive, that myth of sort of what America is. And I think the sort of the Western tropes still uphold that image, and I think it still carries a lot of weight.
One of the great aspects of this series is the majesty of its space. It's so big and infinite. The photography really did an excellent job, in my opinion. The property of the abbot, it seems boundless, and Sheens makes this feeling very well. So is it this another secret of the success of the series?
Yeah, I think kind of like the story I told about the walking up to a forest and feeling like it's another dimension. I think that's the feeling, the imposing feeling of the West. Where we shot it in New Mexico is actually called the Land of Enchantment. And the series is really attempting to ask the question of what would happen if a disenchanted world stumbled upon enchantment. And the landscape really brings that out. And I think what these guys will tell you is that it really is a force when you're out there. You can't help but be shaped by it. And to me, that's always evokes more questions than answers. It always evokes more depth and mystery to life than it does explain it, and gives you a kind of perspective that is large and wide and thematic, which is what we hope comes through in the emotional aspects of the show.
Josh Brolin spoke very well about you in an interview. So what was it like to play with an actor like him?
Well, I paid him, just so you know, and I'm glad that he's no, it's I'm so glad to hear that, because I feel the same way. I mean, he's like my soul brother. I love Josh, and I feel that, we're just bonded, we are. And so working with him was, in some ways, I feel like he's sort of, he's like my inner cowboy. He's my inner knight. And he gives me strength.
I read that the filming took a lot of months. And what were your best memories about that long shooting period?
I mean, there were a lot of memories, as you can imagine, because we were there and we couldn't really leave. So it's, but I think one of the best memories was when, because we couldn't hang out because we had to keep our bubble by ourselves. Even it was awful. And then when we got to be able to hang out, well, actually, we did it secretly. We weren't supposed to hang out, but we did, because we were just desperate. We had to have a party. And so I said, fuck it, let's have a party. Who cares? We'll keep it quiet. We won't tell Amazon. And we did. And we played poker, and we played ping pong, and played music. We needed it so bad, because humans need other people, and we were just isolated. And that was probably one of the better memories.
Filming took place in, if I read well, in Santa Fe, and it lasted a lot of months. So what are your best memories from the shooting period? It's a long shooting period.
It was.
The best memories. I think the weather there is insane.
Yeah.
The last time I shoveled snow off my car was in May, and I think that the inconsistency and the drama of the weather patterns really helped us in this world that was really kind of unsafe, uncertain, and you never know what to expect next. So I'd say the best memory was some of those pictures that we would take, like where you would see a sky that was like nothing you've ever seen. And just to be in that environment was you felt the power of those mountains and of those skies. Yeah, it was the magic of New Mexico.
Yeah, similarly to that, I really loved, Brian Watkins would have these gatherings on the rooftop of his place in Santa Fe with this chimenea, which is like this, it's like a I don't know, I don't know how to describe it, but it's kind of like this ball with a chimney, and we would cook steaks in there. We'd get together on the weekends, and because the show is so, explores such existential kind of esoteric terrain, it was a great opportunity for us all to be like, touch base, get back on the same track. What are we trying to explore? What are we trying to say here? While also, building a great, familial community at the same time. It was really special.
One of the recurring themes in this series is time. You lost, gained, lived, paused, and accelerated by characters too. This is a very important issue in this series because our lives were on pause for so many months during the pandemic. So I want to know, what's your relationship with time?
I think for me, it forced me to really understand that it's what I make of it. Because it could be, time is moving the slowest it ever had at points of, over the last 2 years. And then other times, because you got to savor things with more time than you ever got to savor them before, you realize it moves too quickly. And if we only had that much time to be with our families, that's what I felt most of all, is just having more time to do things that always seem rushed. So it just empowered to make the time a little bit more meaningful, that I had a little bit more control over what it was.
My sister just had a baby, around around Thanksgiving, and that kind of absolutely shattered my whole sense of time. I thought I had a grasp on it, I felt pretty confident in my own version of it until that happened, and it kind of almost, it was so bizarre because, embarrassingly enough, I felt almost this betrayal, because I was like, this is the severance of our childhood. Like, this is now, there's before and there's after, and now we're no longer kids, and which is so obviously, such a reductive point of view to first come at it, but I did feel like we were just yesterday in the sandbox, playing around, and I didn't have enough time. We still had so much, adolescence to explore, and foolishness, and to kind of express, and now I've realized, my sister was like, you never, it's never, there's never a good, never a bad time. It's whatever, and whenever anything happens, you make it work, and we're still children, and our greatest obligation, if anything more so now, is to continue to honor the child within you and throughout your whole life. And so that's been one of the most beautiful things, because my sister's still in my mind. We're 11 years old, and she has this baby, and so it's this trippy thing. She's also the best mother, next to my mother, that I've been so close to, and to see that come out of somebody who's still in your mind is like, you're like wrestling on the lawn with or something, and she's having this child. I'm like, okay, life just happens, and it's happening right now, and no other, and that's it. That's all we have is that, and it's gone. I don't know. That was really poorly expressed, but I'm still obviously still working through it.